Hamilton!
Hamilton!
Hamilton! Hamilton! Lewis Hamilton!
Ferrari called it a minor upgrade, less than 10 horsepower, barely worth talking about. So why, on the eve of the Austrian Grand Prix, do the engineers inside Mercedes look like they have just seen something they were never supposed to see? Because the upgrade Lewis Hamilton is carrying to the Red Bull ring this weekend is not really about horsepower at all. It is about what that horsepower reveals. And what it reveals is a truth Mercedes has spent 7 races trying to keep buried. At first, this looked like a simple engine update. It is not. It is the first crack in a wall everyone assumed was solid. Here is the fact that changes everything. Mercedes has won every meaningful race this season. 6 straight victories before Barcelona. Every single pole position. A championship lead that looked like a coronation. And yet the FIA has quietly ruled that Mercedes does not have the most powerful combustion engine on the grid. They never did. Hold that thought, because it becomes the entire story. But let us start where the panic started. 2 weeks ago, Ferrari looked finished. Mercedes were untouchable. Kimi Antonelli, the teenage sensation, was building his lead race by race. George Russell sat right behind him. Ferrari were nowhere, and their team principal Frederic Vasseur admitted it without flinching, saying that 2 weeks earlier everything was a disaster, and now, suddenly, they were talking about a world championship. Then came Barcelona. And in one single afternoon, everything Ferrari believed about its own car was rewritten. Hamilton started on the soft tires, lost the lead off the line to Russell, and for a while looked beaten. Then Ferrari gambled on a 3-stop strategy almost nobody expected. A virtual safety car handed Hamilton a near-free pit stop. He rejoined, put his head down, and began lapping around 2.5 seconds faster than the Mercedes ahead of him. On lap 62 of 66, Antonelli's car simply stopped, a mechanical failure with the championship leader running second. Hamilton crossed the line for his first victory in red, his 106th career win, and his first in nearly 2 years. Leading an all-British podium ahead of Russell and Norris, the first since 1968. If you want to understand where this championship is actually heading, not the headlines but the real story, subscribe now, because this is about to get a lot stranger. But ask yourself this: if Ferrari's car was good enough to win in Barcelona, why has it been losing all season long? The answer is the one weakness the entire paddock already knew about: straight-line speed. Through the corners, the Ferrari SF26 is by almost every account the best car on the grid. That did not happen by accident. Ferrari brought 8 separate aerodynamic changes to Barcelona, comfortably the biggest upgrade package any team has produced this year, reworking the front, the rear, and the floor, alongside an unusual new wheel concept that had rival engineers staring down the pit lane trying to figure out how it worked. The car became a cornering machine. Lando Norris said it plainly. Ferrari are the class of the field in cornering, and McLaren are not even close. And then, he said the thing that should keep Mercedes awake at night. If Ferrari ever fix their engine, they will embarrass everyone. Now here is where it gets strange. To understand why this upgrade matters, you have to understand a rule almost nobody outside Formula One has heard of. It is called ADUO, Additional Development and Upgrade Opportunities, and it was written into the 2026 regulations to stop one engine running away while 4 others drowned. The logic is simple. If your combustion engine is more than 2% behind the best, you are allowed 1 upgrade. If you are more than 4% behind, you get 2. And this is where the data did something nobody expected. When the FIA ran its first assessment, the benchmark, the single best combustion engine in Formula One, was not Mercedes. It was Red Bull. A team building its own power unit for the very first time after splitting from Honda. A team sitting on a fraction of Mercedes's points. Their engine was ruled the strongest on the grid. Mercedes, the team winning absolutely everything, was officially judged to be behind. So how does the best engine in Formula One belong to a team losing nearly every race? Because a duo only measures 1/2 of the modern power unit, the combustion side, the part that burns fuel. It does not measure the electric side at all. Not the battery, not the deployment, not the energy management. And that is the exact place where Mercedes has been quietly dismantling everyone. Their combustion engine might be ordinary, but the way they harvest and unleash electrical power is the best in the sport. That is their real secret. That is the engine behind every win. Remember that, because it is about to become Mercedes' biggest problem. So what happens when the one area where Mercedes is not ahead, raw combustion power, is the exact area their rivals are now allowed to upgrade? Ferrari were ruled more than 4% behind, which hands them 2 engine upgrades this season. The first of those is the package heading to Austria this weekend, and while Ferrari are publicly downplaying it, their own power unit director calling it a relatively minor step, the technical details tell a very different story. Stay with me, because this next part is the detail almost no channel is explaining properly, and if you are finding this useful, hit subscribe. At the heart of the upgrade is something genuinely radical. A cylinder head built from a steel alloy instead of aluminum. It sounds like a small change. It is anything but. Aluminum softens and fails under extreme heat, which is why almost every engine in the sport stays within a safe temperature window. Steel does not soften the same way. By switching materials, Ferrari can run their combustion chamber far hotter than anyone else dares, pushing intake temperatures past 115 degrees where rival designs sit around 60 to 70. They have effectively been running a deliberately hot engine all season. And now they are turning the heat up even further into territory their rivals simply cannot follow. Here is what that means in plain terms. Picture 2 cars accelerating out of the same corner. One burns its fuel cleanly and almost completely, squeezing every drop of energy out of every particle. The other wastes a fraction with every explosion. Over a single lap, that waste is the difference between attacking and merely defending. Ferrari's superheated chamber burns more of the fuel, more completely, turning more of it into raw forward thrust. And they did not stop at metal. They worked with Shell to build an entirely new fuel, designed specifically to burn inside that hotter chamber. Engine and fuel, engineered as a single weapon. The simulations reportedly put the whole package at around 0.2 of a second per lap. 0.2 does not sound like much. In a title fight this tight, it is everything. And notice who else has been playing it down. Hamilton himself. He has warned that you cannot simply bolt on an engine upgrade overnight, that it takes months and months of development to change the components and still prove they are reliable. Every voice connected to Ferrari is reaching for the same word: minor, small, modest, one race at a time. When a team that just ended a winning streak suddenly insists its new weapon is nothing to worry about, that is usually the moment to start paying very close attention. But here is the twist nobody saw coming. This Austrian upgrade is not even the real one. Ferrari are deliberately holding back. The package this weekend is the appetizer, a smaller step fast-tracked to ride the momentum of Hamilton's Barcelona win when it was originally planned for weeks later. The genuine weapon, the one believed to carry a brand new turbocharger, is being saved for after the summer break and aimed squarely at Monza, Ferrari's home race and the single most important weekend of their year. Across the 2 steps, the target is to claw back around 30 horsepower. So the question becomes, if this is just the small step, what does the big one do? And if Mercedes are uneasy now, how worried should they be in September? We are about halfway through, and the biggest reveal is still coming, so if you have not subscribed yet, now is the moment. But just as Ferrari lined everything up, the story turned in a direction Maranello never wanted. Because Red Bull are furious. Remember, the FIA crowned their engine the best, which means Red Bull are now the only manufacturer banned from upgrading at all. While Mercedes, Ferrari, Audi, and Honda all get to develop, Red Bull are frozen in place. And they flatly refuse to believe the verdict. Team principal Laurent Mekies said there is not a single data sample showing Red Bull ahead of Mercedes. So Red Bull challenged the ruling and asked the FIA to re-examine everything: the sensors, the readings, the calculations from the opening races. And that challenge has now thrown Ferrari's entire Austrian plan into doubt. Here is the problem. Until the FIA finalizes its verdict, Ferrari's upgrade is not officially approved. The whole thing hinges on the governing body confirming, on paper, that Ferrari's engine is far enough behind to qualify. If Red Bull's challenge drags that ruling out, Ferrari cannot run the new engine in Austria. And because the new shell fuel was built specifically for that engine, they lose the fuel along with it. One protest, and the entire package could stay sealed in its crates at the side of the garage. So as the cars arrive at the Red Bull Ring, nobody actually knows for certain whether the upgrade will be allowed to run. Would you let a rival's protest decide your championship? Because that is precisely the position Ferrari are trapped in this weekend. And it gets more political still. Mercedes, quietly, have backed the FIA's verdict. They are perfectly happy to be told their combustion engine is only second best because they know their true advantage lives in a place the rules do not even measure. Red Bull are fighting the ruling tooth and nail. Ferrari are caught in the crossfire, holding an upgrade they may not be permitted to use. Inside a war between two rivals over a number the public will never see. There is one more layer of pressure too, because the second Ferrari belongs to Charles Leclerc, and the Red Bull Ring is one of his strongest circuits, a place he has stood on the podium again and again. If the upgrade is cleared, Ferrari arrive with a best-in-class chassis, fresh power, a hungry Hamilton and a Spielberg specialist, all at once. Meanwhile, Red Bull are bringing their own major upgrade to their home race, though Mikis admits it alone will not be enough, with roughly 4/10 a lap still to find before they can fight at the front again. Now step back and look at the whole board. Hamilton sits second, 41 points behind Antonelli, with 15 races still to run. The Ferrari chassis is already the best in cornering. The engine deficit is the only thing holding the car back, and it is the one thing Ferrari are now legally guaranteed to keep closing, not once but twice this season. Mercedes, by contrast, can upgrade only once, and their entire lead rests on an electrical advantage the regulations are slowly tilting away from. Add the reliability gremlins that have already wrecked Antonelli's near-certain podium in Barcelona, and rattled Russell, McLaren and Williams along the way, and the untouchable season suddenly looks a great deal more fragile. This is the terrifying truth the data revealed. Mercedes have not been winning because they built the fastest engine. They have been winning despite not having it. And the moment Ferrari claws back even a fraction of that combustion gap, the single structural advantage protecting the Mercedes lead begins to vanish. The chassis is already there, the driver is already there, and Hamilton proved that beyond argument in Barcelona. The only missing piece was power. And power is the exact thing ADUO has just handed Ferrari written permission to chase. Which brings us right back to where we started, those worried faces inside the Mercedes garage. They are not afraid of 10 horsepower. They are afraid of what 10 horsepower in Austria implies about 30 horsepower at Monza. They are afraid that the data, their own data, shows a championship lead built on the one variable now guaranteed to shrink. Hamilton does not need to suddenly become faster. He already showed his speed. Everyone else simply needs to slow the rate at which Ferrari closes in, and right now, the rules will not let them. That is why this minor upgrade feels so major. It is not the size of the step, it is the direction of the entire war. So when the lights go out at the Red Bull Ring this weekend, watch the Ferrari on the straights, the exact place it used to bleed time. If that gap has shrunk, even slightly, then Barcelona was not a fluke or a lucky safety car. It was the first visible sign of a shift the FIA's own numbers quietly predicted. And the team that won every race this season may be about to discover that its greatest strength was always borrowed time. If this breakdown gave you something the headlines did not, subscribe and stay with the channel. Because the Monza upgrade is coming, and when it lands, you will want to understand exactly what it means before anyone else does. Ferrari called it minor. The data called it a warning. And somewhere inside Mercedes, they already know which one is true.